Now, after weeks of warnings and political shadow boxing, officials from the United States and Russia will sit across tables for open talks to discuss Moscow's demands for Western security guarantees. All this amid a Russian troop buildup near Ukraine. Now, these select delegations have already arrived in Geneva. In fact, Russia's deputy foreign minister met with his U.S. counterpart Wendy Sherman for a working dinner on Sunday. Ryabkov described the 2-hour-long conversation as difficult. And right ahead of the talks, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken warned that Russia had to choose between dialogue and confrontation. Blinken made the comments while speaking to an American broadcaster, wherein a strongly worded statement, Blinken said, and I quote, "There's a path of dialogue and diplomacy to try to resolve some of these differences and avoid a confrontation. The other path is confrontation and massive consequences for Russia if it renews its aggression on Ukraine. We are about to test the proposal about which path President Putin is prepared to take." The talks will be held in Geneva, where U.S. President Joe Biden and Russian President Putin met last year, now in June. Since then, tensions between Russia and the West have only been mounting, with spotlight on Ukraine. The negotiations that will begin on Monday are aimed at reducing the West's worries over Moscow's alleged plan to invade its neighbor, Ukraine. Russia has insisted that it has no intention of invading. A week of diplomatic discussions will also see Russia meeting NATO councils in Brussels. Now, just a day ahead of talks, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister said that Moscow has been disappointed by the signals from Washington and Brussels. The Russian leader said that the NATO allies reflect a lack of understanding of what Moscow needs. He further reiterated that Russia needs legal binding guarantees of NATO not expanding any further east, which Washington has dismissed, calling it a non-starter. Now, as per Russian news agency, Moscow has vowed to not make any concessions under U.S. pressure on the Ukraine crisis and demands for Western security guarantees. The agency, quoting Sergei Ryabkov, said that it was entirely possible that diplomacy could end abruptly after a single meeting. Now, ahead of the meeting, Biden administration has once again warned Russia of penalties that it may face if it goes ahead with threats to invade Ukraine. On Friday, United States and NATO roundly rejected Russian demands that the alliance not admit new members aspiring to join U.S. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and NATO Secretary General said that Russia would have no say over who should be allowed to join the bloc. Listen in.
They want to draw us into a debate about NATO rather than focus on the matter at hand, which is their aggression toward Ukraine. We won't be diverted from that issue, because what's happening in Ukraine is not only about Ukraine. It's part of a broader pattern of destabilizing, dangerous, and often illegal behavior by Moscow as it tries to build a sphere of influence that covers the countries that were once under Soviet dominion, and to stop them from realizing their democratic aspirations as fully sovereign, independent nations.
Speaking to WION, Ukrainian foreign minister also dismissed Russia's demands of not allowing Ukraine to join NATO. He said that although Ukraine considers Russia's demands unacceptable and illegitimate, Kiev does not stand against a dialogue between the Russia and the West. The Ukraine crisis will top the agenda. Talks between US and Russia will also focus on arms control, cybercrime and other diplomatic issues that the two sides need to overcome if tensions are to ease. Russia's recent deployment in Kazakhstan could also be discussed.